Greetings, Dr. Beckett. Welcome to the Quantum Leap Podcast.
Theorizing that one could time travel within his own lifetime, Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the Quantum Leap Accelerator and vanished. He awoke to find himself trapped in the past, facing mirror images that were not his own, and driven by an unknown force to change history for the better. His only guide on this journey is Al, an observer from his own time, who appears in the form of a hologram that only Sam can see and hear. And so Dr. Beckett finds himself leaping from life to life, striving to put right what once went wrong, and hoping each time that his next leap will be the leap home.
So we're just gonna wing this one, guys. All right, everybody ready to go?
Don't we always?
Yeah, that's the way the magic happens, right?
Yeah.
So, all right.
The sausage is made.
What?
Remembered that?
Welcome to the Quantum Leap Podcast, everyone. I'm Christopher DeFilippis.
I'm Allison Pregler.
And I'm Matt Dale.
And you are listening to a very special extra episode that we are just putting together on the fly. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but it's official. We finally have confirmation. Quantum Leap is being rebooted. Rebooted or sequel or... We've been waiting for this day.
Oh,
We've been
man.
waiting.
What I say it's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
So I, of course, got the news as I was leaving for a trip. Otherwise, we would have recorded this last week. Of course, I was away somewhere. I didn't have any of my equipment, anything. I wanted to do this so badly. So if you're listening in real time, we're sorry that we're a little late in discussing this latest development, probably the biggest bombshell since Allison's discovery of the lost ending. But if you're listening in the future on the feed, you're not going to notice the lag. So good on you. Anyway, because of the time-sensitive nature of this, you guys might notice we're a little bit more quick and dirty than we usually are. I'm not going to edit this at all. I'm just going to sync the tracks, make sure that everything is lined up pretty good, and I'm going to put it out so that you guys can get it right in your ear holes as quickly as possible. So
no swearing?
No swearing. Let's
We're
try to
gonna be throwing
refrain
in
from
a
the
bunch of swearing.
Just off, Chris.
What the flip is going on with this reboot?
So yes, it is official. According to Deadline, NBC has given a pilot order to a reboot of the beloved 1990s sci-fi series. Now, you guys got to help me with this because they're saying that it's written and executive produced by La Brea co-showrunners Stephen Lillian and Brian Windebrandt, and executive produced by Blind Spot creator Martin Garrow. And, of course, Don and Deborah are also involved. Do you guys know any of these shows? What's La Brea?
No. I did see that the co-showrunners, they previously made the dramedy God Friended Me, which is not one that I've seen, but I have seen ads for it, and I remember it feeling Quantum Leapy to me.
Ooh.
So if that's any indication, I have no idea how good the show was, but, I'm hoping that that's a good indication.
Yeah, I recall seeing commercials for God Friended Me, and somehow like either Dead or End was sectioned off in the logo. So I felt like maybe it was like the end of Lost where they're all dead at the end of God Friended Me. I don't know, but I've never seen the show. I've heard about it. I thought maybe there was a little tricky stuff going on there right in the logo, but hey, I could be completely wrong. These guys, Lillian and Windebrandt, also did Alcatraz, which was a pretty big Fox show, was it not?
I think that one I've heard of, but...
Yeah. See, here's where we get kind of lost, and me personally, I don't watch a lot of current TV, so I'm like, yeah, sure.
Current's all
right.
good. The fact that we don't really know these is probably a good sign, because that means they probably are genuinely good, and If Alison and I watched them, then the producers would be terrible people.
That's true, especially in Allison's case.
The way that I'm going into this is like I go into any sort of thing. There's some people that are just like against reboots in general. I'd really rather just see what happens. I can't really see. You're not editing. That's when all the sirens are going to go off in the background.
That's good. See, now everybody's going to know how much work I put in to make it sound so good. So.
Yeah, but So basically, it's good until it's not. You know, like I don't really want to go in with any like stinky thoughts about it, because I genuinely don't know much about these show creators. I'm hoping that it's going to be good, and I think the fact that Deborah and Don are involved is a good sign as well.
Yeah, I think Deborah and Don have to be involved, even if it's in name only, because I'm sure that they are part owners of the rights. So anything that goes through is probably going to have to involve them in some capacity. But especially Deborah being involved gives me some kind of hope that this is going to at least have some of their fingerprints on it, because Don is busy. Don is off doing 17 more NCIS shows, and who knows what else he's got cooking. And Deborah has been sort of carrying the torch and the flame and the passion of Quantum Leap very vocally throughout the hiatus years, the lean years, and I think that she is just as thrilled as we are as fans, because she's as much of a fan as we are. Sure,
she's been pushing for it forever.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be her time child. What was it? Her Sammy Joe, her Sammy Joe story.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be anything specifically tied to a lot of continuity from the original show. I think Sammy Joe is too much of a deep cut for the audience that they're wanting to reach out to.
It will cut off a lot of the casual audience out there, and the people that have general fond memories from their childhood. And let's face it, the people that have never seen Quantum Leap before and are just watching this because of any hype surrounding it. They need to keep it open.
For sure. They do need to reach as broad of an audience possible. And they gave us as broad of a definition as possible. If you guys want to read the synopsis, it says the follow-up series is set in present time. It's been 30 years since Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the Quantum Leap Accelerator and vanished. Now a new team has been assembled to restart the project in the hopes of understanding the mysteries behind the machine and the man who created it. So I'm picturing in my mind some sort of a like Project Quantum Leap, since Sam basically disappeared, is just moribund now. It's you have this parallel hybrid computer sitting in the middle of a mountain that maybe has shut down, and there are people coming in now to try to see like what happened here, what's going on with Sam. And I hate to invoke later Star Wars, but it's like R2 being shut down for the majority of the first movie. And then all of a sudden he has a map. I don't want that, but I can see sort of that.
But they can, the new audience can discover all this stuff through these characters that don't have all the nerdy detail that we do. So that would be a really good way of walking new viewers through this, through their eyes. Sort of reminds me of when Doctor Who came back the second time in 2005, and that first episode was almost entirely from Billie Piper's point of view, because you tell it from the Doctor's point of view. You need the fans to understand all the background, but telling it from an outsider's point of view means, it's so much more accessible. So I've got similar hopes.
It's kind of interesting. We just rewatched the pilot for the podcast, and the role in that for introducing the audience to the concept was Sam, because he just didn't remember anything, so you were kind of learning it through his eyes. So it's going to be kind of interesting how they handle it this time around. Them saying that it's a a sequel / reboot. I've seen like several different wordings of it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be mostly in the reboot territory with maybe some nods. I feel like they're going to do kind of in between, which maybe would be how I would handle it if I was personally in charge of it. So, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't feel like it's going to be
sense.
completely a sequel, though.
I don't see a difference between a continuation and a reboot in any event.
I mean, I guess if they're restarting it, it's a sequel in that way, but I think it is.
But a sequel
fresh start.
It's still a fresh start for like a new leaper or whatever. And it's funny, Deborah tweeted about it when the news finally broke. She wrote, "QL is coming back. I feel excited about this evolution." She calls it an evolution. And she writes, "Trust me, this is only the beginning. Thank you all of you fans and friends who never stopped hoping and believing." Aww. So she's thanking all of us. But evolution, I think, is a pretty good word, because what you have there is saying that it's not going to forget about what came before, but it's going to build upon what came before, or sort of transcend what came before. So I just can't imagine Don and Deborah being involved without there being some kind of nod to Sam Beckett and the work that he did, you know, and it's even right there in the synopsis. So that right there seems like a continuation to me. A new team is restarting the project in hopes of understanding Sam's work. Sure. So, yeah. I mean, that you call it a reboot because it's going to be new characters. It has to be.
Yeah.
But it's still,
I mean, I just don't think it's going to be a lot of like, we're just on the tail of Sam and we missed him. You know, that kind of stuff. Like, I don't think it's going to be that kind of sequel.
Yeah, I don't see that either. And we were getting into this, and we had to stop because last weekend we were having a thread on Messenger where we were discussing what we think it will be, what I think it will be, how could it work, and we were just like, no, let's save it for the show, let's save it for the mic. But I was under the impression that if Deborah was going to be involved in any way, that Sammy Joe would play some kind of part. Now, you guys have to refresh my memory. Matt, you might know this. What year was Sammy Joe born?
67? 66? 68?
Was it only 6? Okay,
So,
I thought it was even earlier. Like, I'm thinking Sammy Joe could be older than Sam, theoretically, depending on when she was born, you know? Well, not really, because he would be leaping within his lifetime, but...
Yeah,
she would be about 10, 13 years younger, something like that. Like, she would have been...
Yeah, but compared to Sam when he was actually leaping, if they brought Sammy Joe back to be the leaper and it was set in the present day, she'd be in her mid-50s. If they said it in the near future, she'd be in her 60s. It doesn't seem plausible that they'd have her as the leaper.
I don't still think at the project would either.
Yeah, she could be like the hologram, I suppose, if they wanted Sammy Joe to be involved.
She could be the observer. Sure. I was thinking that, but I was also thinking that you would need a Beckett or a Calavici to do the leaping because of the genetic link that Sam and Ziggy and Al had to make the whole thing work. Anyway,
is the genetic link part of the show or the books, though? Did they actually say there was a genetic link in the show?
That's all. Just the books. It's all magnifoozle to me. Like, I just, to me, take it for granted that there's a genetic link, therefore you're going to have some kind of family member. And Matt, I know you took special umbrage with my... but I'm thinking like a grandson or something, like maybe Sammy Joe's kid or maybe one of Beth's daughters.
I was bouncing this around with a British writer-producer friend of mine who, because he was saying, if I was in charge of this, I would definitely bring back Sammy Joe. And I was like, why does it have to be Sammy Joe? And he was saying, as I say, he's British as well, but from his perspective, and he's quite right. It's a very American thing, and obviously this being an American show, this obviously is maybe what we can expect. But to a Brit, we just don't get this obsession with. Why do sequels and reboots and everything always have to be sons and daughters? And why this need for a family link?
No, you don't see
that in British shows, but that does come up. I'm fairly sure that comes up a lot in American stuff, except Star Trek. Picard was definitely not Kirk's grandson, but
that you know of.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing for me is
Kirk got about as possible.
The thing with the Sammy Joe thing, we talked about it in Trilogy. I'm not the biggest fan of Sammy Joe as a character, but I think if that was the direction they wanted to go in, I'd be like willing to be won over. Because we genuinely, I don't know who Sammy Joe is. We don't know who she is.
Exactly.
Because there's all this lore around her.
She's a little girl.
But we knew her as a little girl. We never knew her as an adult. This character is fully, like, undeveloped, which I guess would be good for a show if you wanted to kind of develop her as a person. She does have an interesting backstory, but Trilogy is very messy. There's also that. In general, I'm not a fan of kid of the main character plots because this happens in a lot of sequels and reboots, like you said, Matt, and a lot of the time it just feels very unearned. It just feels like you like them because they're the kid of the main character. Sometimes it'll be kind of a wink, like they're just like their parent, and you don't want to see a copy of the parent. You want to see the parent. Like you're like make this their own person, and it can be very annoying.
The moment they try and create leads that are carbon copies of Sam and Al, it's going to fail. They are going to have to be so different, otherwise, that it's going to be compared anyway. But Sammy
Joe is also very much kind of a copy of Sam in what we do know about her, because she's a genius. She's into Brigadoon. We know she's into musicals. You know? Like there is that kind of fanficky quality to it, which in the hands of the right people can still be fine, but I would rather they not try to just do the same thing. I was thinking about there was that pilot that they tried to make in the early 2000s. There was a script for it, and they tried to get around the fact that Dennis Wolfberg wasn't around anymore and kind of have a Gushy equivalent, but they had like a character named Guppy who was kind of like a copy, and it was like, why are we doing this though? If you're gonna do it, just do your own thing. And I think that's, with this reboot, I would like it to be more of its own thing with nods to the previous show.
And they had, if I remember rightly, that pilot script has Sammy Joe in it, but the wrong age, and that's just not explained. It's just, we've got to have Sammy Joe in it, but we want her to be a late teenager, early 20s, so let's just go with it.
Why do they have to be young leapers? You want like a wide spectrum of things they can leap into, right? In decades.
Yeah,
even with Sam, like the character was older than Scott Bakula if you do the math with the future stuff. So I don't know.
I wonder if that's going to play into it. I mean, logically, that's good from a storytelling point of view, but it's not good if you're the usual breed of television executives saying we have to have the sexy girl, we have to have the hunky guy.
You know what I would really love for them to do is they're leaping in Sam's lifetime.
Yeah.
If they're using his project, then they can have a very wide spectrum, but not like so crazy that they're going to like, Roman, ancient Rome or something. So you have that. But you can be a little more flexible, so you can have like, I don't want them to be like super young, sexy model, because I think that's going into like CW territory. But, it would be nice if you had someone who was a little more spry, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, think of like a good, it always comes back to Star Trek. Perfect leaper would be like an Anson Mount. Like someone that's still like super hunky, sexy, will draw the eye.
With like a good vintage to them,
you can tell
they
it's
can
like
still do stuff.
He's a little craggy. He's a little, he's got a little bit of miles on him.
We don't want a teenager. I don't want someone in their 20s. Yeah. Like someone who seems like they have some life experience, please.
Exactly. That's really what it comes down to is the life experience thing, because even as a character, Sam being a genius, you got to think that he was so isolated throughout a lot of his life because he was so unique and he was always doing things that were not like normal things. And it struck me as so weird when we got to the leap back and he's on the high school basketball team of all things. So they're making him like this aw shucks farm boy, which is great because that shows you where his moral compass comes from. But at the same time, it's like, how realistic is that? He's got the brain that comes along once in a generation. He could
possibly have done all the things that he did. He was he was in college when he was 16 and MIT.
Right, but he was also playing basketball when he was 16. Yeah, I just, so it's like he went right from that game to MIT, I guess, and then to Carnegie Hall to play the piano.
Come up with something similar for the new show, because that was all a requirement of the fact that he's going from one life to the next and he's got to display all these skills. So everything he does, either him or Al have to have been, remember when I was 20 and I was an orphan and I was playing...
They don't necessarily have to be a genius to have the Sam role, though, because he created the time machine, so, I mean, he has to kind of be a genius for that. But, I mean, it just has to be someone who's really quick on their toes. Yeah. And you can have whoever the hologram is fill in the blanks, because that's kind of what Al was doing anyway. Yeah. So,
and that's where I was going with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if it was someone who was not a genius, someone who was
or not a genius, or even if they're a little younger, you're going to need another character to balance out with the life experience.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where the hologram could come in, and that's where I think if you're going to stick Sammy Jo in here just because. You want some kind of callback to the original series. I love how we can call it TOS now, Quantum Leap TOS. If you want some kind of link that the fans will glom onto that doesn't hurt, or that you don't necessarily need to know her backstory for her to become a character. You just need to know what you said, Allison, what we all know, and almost the only thing we know. Sammy Jo now works at the project. We have no other idea who she is, how she is, what she does. She just is there. So it just makes sense in universe, since she's connected to Sam in such an intimate way, to introduce her in some capacity. Even if she's part of the committee, she could be like the next Weitzman, She could be, if they bring back that conceit from the first season.
Like she's like the champion to bring this project back.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah. And all right, we got to dance around. I shouldn't say it that way. We've been dancing around the elephant in the room, and it's the fact that as of now, Scott has not been attached to reply. I'm sorry. Scott has. This is why we have editing. Scott has not been attached to the project to reprise his role or to produce as of that Deadline article that I read 10 days ago, maybe more. Yeah. Of course, they're gonna get Scott back, even if it's just like as a cameo in the pilot. Or
what if he's he's like a hologram, but not like an Al hologram, like a Princess Leia hologram, like, hi, I'm Dr. Sam Beckett. It looks like you stepped into my project.
Oh, that would be cool.
It'd be like that episode of DS9 where they have Ducat on a pre-made video responding to every single contingency that you might think of when something goes wrong at the station. You just walk in and Ziggy has them all, like she can just load them up whenever somebody asks a question or something. But I would think of it this way, that part of the series is going to be its own mythology and part of it's going to be the hunt for Sam. And I think that they're going to brush up against Sam as a leaper somewhere, either in the past or the future, or however they decide to set the parameters of leaping in this series. Because I'm gonna call this now, and years later, if this show gets picked up, I'm gonna be vindicated. So if they ever bring Sam back in like a cameo sense, they're gonna leap into that bar and they're gonna find him there, and he's gonna do like a little toast. Okay, like the strappa. And
that's
then
what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And they're going to be as confused, but we all know.
Yeah, we're going to be like, you guys know what we felt now, and then they're going to be like, the new leaper never left home either. They'd be like, well, new fans, looks like you're in the same position.
Looks like you're in the same boat. What I would freaking hate, though, and I'll go on, if they retcon it that Sam actually does come home, then... Oh, bleepity, bleep, bleep, bleep you.
But there's not a great way to go about this, to be honest. I don't think anything is really ideal, because I think it's just extremely sad the way they ended things with him and Al. And I think no matter which way you slice it, he never leapt home, or he leapt home and then Al's not around anymore. I don't know. It just feels like, it feels sad to me.
Yeah, well, they see now this is all fangasm stuff, but I could see this in light of the fact that Dean is gone, they're going to, in universe, of course, Al is gone. So wouldn't it be apropos for them to find Sam in their search visiting Al's grave at some point? Like, I would see
that's
that.
Sad. That's sad.
I know it's sad, but it's something that we would want to see.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Al was going to die anyway. I mean, they're going to die.
I guess that's inevitable, but when you live in fanfic land, nothing ever happened.
He's immortal.
You don't know. He came back immediately afterward. They lied. I don't think that this is going to happen, but I would think it'd be cool if, like, Sam was the hologram this time around. That'd be kind of
neat. No, because that means he comes home. No. Yeah.
This, as far as like Scott Bakula being attached or not attached, this is so early. They're like writing a script. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows how the plot synopsis will change? Who knows if this will even get picked up? Maybe they won't even make a pilot. I guess they ordered a pilot, but they could read the script and be like, yeah, pass. So
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you this. I think they're going to make the pilot, and I'll tell you why. Because networks used to invest tons and tons of money in pilot season, and even when pilots didn't get picked up, they could use them as TV movies or movies of the week, because that used to be like the model of programming.
Sure.
I think that we are now sort of in that position again, because instead of the 3 big networks, you have like the 5 big streamers, and everybody's trying to get their piece of the pie. Paramount Plus
and
has
Peacock's
recently
got that Star Trek stuff. Keeping them afloat.
Yeah.
No, wait, no, that's Paramount.
Yeah, that's Paramount.
Peacock's got Saved by the Bell.
Never mind. Peacock's got Saved by the Bell.
Which I love. As reboots go, that shows Peacock is the place to be.
But think of it
serious.
this way. I know you are. We know what your son's name is. We get it, Matt. You're super good. But Disney has now taken all Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars properties, and you can only get them on Disney Plus unless they had some kind of pre-existing contract with Amazon that hasn't expired yet. Paramount has just started pulling Star Trek on all of the major streaming platforms as the contracts expire, and consolidating them in Paramount Plus. So you have to go there to get your Star Trek fix. NBC has got Bubkiss. They have the Below Decks, Saved by the Bell. I have Peacock. Peacock sucks because it doesn't have Quantum Leap. They are looking for
they're putting
IPO.
Quantum Leap on Peacock. It was on NBC's site for free, and they took it down because they're putting it onto Peacock.
Yeah,
but in case anyone listening is
articles
wondering, you can watch
that.
it through Roku. So just letting you know.
Roku, okay. All right, but I have Peacock, and I've been looking every week since they took it off of the streaming on the NBC site to see, did it finally premiere? Or are they going to try to make it an event to coincide with the release of the pilot? That's why I think that even if they don't go to series with this, they're going to at least air the pilot on Peacock to get those Quantum Leap fans in, and that they're putting money in this, and it's one of the few IPOs they have that has a legacy audience. We're going to see at least one season. I mean, we have to, because you're talking about probably, 10 or 13 episodes, because that's the model these days. And they're hyping it up already. So I can't imagine that it wouldn't go to series.
Are they hyping it up, though? Haven't they just made one very, very short press release, and the fans, we're hyping?
I mean, in my heart, Matt, it's hyped.
Yeah,
I've seen things with pilots that had a huge fan base that didn't make it for whatever reason, because sometimes you're kind of at the mercy of whatever network decides what they want. Most famously, I think the Tremors pilot didn't end up even getting released, even though they had a trailer for it, and people were super disappointed. And that has a huge fan base. But I think you're right. I think they probably will have at least one season. I hope more. I mean, well, that depends on how it goes. Maybe if it stinks, it'd be like, boo, canceled.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And like, I want to approach it with an open mind. And yeah, just kind of interesting times we're in right now.
Great time to be a Quantum Leap fan.
Yes.
I love seeing all of the people saying they're watching it for the first time because they saw the announcement and they're like, well, I better check it out.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I haven't seen any real fan reaction. I try to stay away from that stuff because you inevitably get negative backlash, and you get the fan holes saying it's not going to be the Quantum Leap, or it's going to be too woke, or it's going to be this, or it's going to be that, because Hollywood has
too woke thing is ridiculous.
Yeah,
this happens with any reboot regardless.
Doesn't
but
it?
if for Quantum Leap, what show are you watching if you think it's going to be too woke?
Yeah, and the one thing that my biggest reservation is not about wokeness, because Quantum Leap was the original woke show. I mean, it set the stage for woke programming. I think that I wrote this many, many moons ago when Bold Leap Forward was being bandied about the internet, that I didn't think that the TV landscape was an especially good place for Quantum Leap at that time, because it was the height of the BSG reboot, and people liked the dark and gritty and complicated, and I thought that any Quantum Leap reboot at that point in time would inevitably involve Sam or whatever leaper having to make Sophie's Choice, like sacrificing the good of one person to ensure the good of another person, or picking from the lesser of two evils. Because why could you just have a good feel-good
sometimes,
show?
though.
They'd have a dark past as well, and all kinds of...
Yeah, the gritty thing.
Yeah.
That's something I would really like to stay away from Quantum Leap, because I think it's such a hopeful show, and it's so refreshing that Sam was such a not cynical character, that he really believed in people, and it was a show about making things better. It started sliding a bit when you get into the evil leaper stuff, although it's very interesting, but I wouldn't want the show to focus on that sort of thing. And in that sort of vein, I mean, I really think the show thrived on this heart and this humor and these very intimate stories, and I would hope that the new show, while they can do a lot more with technology, with sets, with budget, all of this stuff, I don't want them to get too caught up in the lore and the sci-fi element of it.
God, no.
I wonder if that's going to be too much of a temptation for them to not do it. I think that we're going to see...
I would love to see a project that looks less sad than a blue screen or a black void. I would like to see a nice-looking project for sure.
But let's see it for a few seconds here and there, not...
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some stuff there and maybe playing with the concept a little more than they would have been comfortable with in the 90s. But as far as getting caught up in the whole technology and the flashy stuff, I just don't want it to get flashy.
This is a show set in the past. It should remain a show set in the past. And
it's going to be set in present day. So you're 30 years. Are you 30 years?
They're going to be leaping. The leap presumably will be the focus.
What I mean is what we've talked about a lot with season 5, how it started to get more and more. The setting started to be more and more that near future stuff as they built in more and more of that. Whereas if you look at the first few seasons, it was all just in the time of the leap. We never saw the project, and that's what I mean about being set in the past. I know it's the leaping is going to be in the present day, but let's not see the present day any more than we have to. Let's see the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, whatever.
If they're gonna have present day project stuff, we better be seeing some gummy bear cubes, some cutouts in the collars,
some flashy
some
Lego.
LEDs.
That's what I was wondering.
If it turns into the Kelvin timeline Star Trek lens flares, we're gonna have some words.
I agree, and I'm thinking it's set in present day, but is it our present day, or is it present day from that futuristic 90s?
Oh, it's got to be kind of an alternate it's present day.
I hope it's the alternate present day that builds upon that aesthetic, and I would bet money that we are going to get equal parts back at the project and wherever the leaper is. I think the project is going to take a more integral role in whatever series they have going forward, because that's the sci-fi element that I think we all crave as geeks.
There's also the nostalgia element, though.
Yeah,
expect to see lots of 80s.
I do expect to see lots of 80s. I'm not nostalgic for the 80s, especially. Having lived through them, I hope there's not a lot of 80s, but...
See, now you're in the position of the people when Quantum Leap was first made, that they wanted to get the boomers in with the 50s nostalgia, but it was actually more appealing to the younger people. So maybe this time around it's going to be the people that like didn't necessarily live the 80s, but they're like, the 80s, the aesthetic.
Yeah, I think that's like your generation, Allison. I think there's a lot of hype about the 80s. I'm telling you, they weren't that great. I spent 25
days in the 80s. I'm nostalgic as hell for it.
Great days.
But another thing, now this is complete fan theory, fanfic. Since Sam is basically a sleeper at this point, and the project is based on his parameters, he doesn't have any more parameters. He can leap anywhere he wants to at any time. So by that virtue, does that make it that anybody that steps into the accelerator, since it's basically Sam is the default for the time travel programming, could go anywhere? I don't want that, but I could see them fudging stuff because of that.
Parameters are just by the project. Isn't it just supposed to be whatever time travel logic that it's the string theory that it's in his lifetime?
Right, but now I think that Sam has basically become eternal. At this point, he could leap anytime,
this
anywhere.
Is your own headcanon. This isn't what the show said.
I told you, this is just fanfic. That's all.
It makes a lot of sense, but I hope not.
What'd you say, Allison? What'd you say? Fantasy?
Yeah. I mean, I think like it would be good to keep a focus on the leaps, but I do want to see more of the project. I just don't want it to get too caught up in the flashiness of it. I feel like it'll drift away from really the stuff that was appealing about the show in the first place. But I mean, who knows? Maybe if they're just doing their own thing with different kinds of focuses, maybe it'll be a different flavor that we enjoy in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that anything that is respectfully grounded in what came before can be its own thing, as long as it's not dismissing what we know and love, or disparaging what we know and love. As long as they can respectfully say that was there and that will always be there, then go off in whatever direction you want. You know?
I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? The show is really terrible, but then you have more Quantum Leap stuff and more people are checking out Quantum Leap. It's that, or you got nothing. So
right, and the show is really terrible. You never watch it again, but you can still watch Quantum Leap over and over and over.
Yes.
I never understood people that get angry at sequels, like it erases what came before.
No,
you know. But I do take heart. Stephen Lillian, who was one of the showrunners, I was looking at his Twitter feed before to see if I could stalk him to see if we could get him on the show. But he had tweeted very scantly about this, but one fan, I think it was Jennifer, it was the woman who was in that Big Love show with Bill Pullman. Jennifer, she was a star of that show, then she became like a writer-producer. But she said something like to the effect of, Quantum Leap is like my favorite show of all time. Please don't ruin it. And he's saying, Stephen Lillian responds saying, it's my favorite show of all time too. It's in good hands.
Hey!
Yeah.
So if you have someone coming at it,
about?
Yeah, it's not just a gig to him, unless he's just saying that on Twitter to say, yeah, I love it. But it's not like Jade.
I love the Quantum Leap show. It's my favorite.
But it's not like what we all felt in 09.
Saul Beckett is my favorite character.
Saul.
He follows up with a tweet saying, just to check, does anyone know, is it his mind or his body that leaps?
Oh my God.
Asking for a friend.
You know, I'm going to call it now. Someone's going to have some debate like that in the show. Like, they're going to be like, there was this Samuel Beckett, and some people say his body leapt, but some say his mind leapt. Like, what was the deal there?
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, and they can get onto that fan stuff. But Matt, do you remember when...
I hope that in the show there is a conspiracy podcast about this disappearance of Samuel Beckett, and then it's a cameo by us doing the voices of the podcast people. And then we're like, what happened here? Yes, some people say it's this, but some people say it's that.
And we're going to get to the bottom of it, you sons of bitches.
Yeah. Oh my God. If anyone's listening, and I know the Reboot people are, get us in on this.
We are poised.
Also,
we
buy my
poised,
book.
People.
Yeah, buy Matt's book.
and find my book somewhere.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
You're part of the OG canon.
I guess so.
They better be referencing your book in the show, because it happened.
At some point. It happened somewhere. According to Matt, it's canon.
It's definitely canon.
So by that respect, then Sam and Al and Ziggy having a genetic link is canon. So,
Chris, don't get too excited though. I think that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is canon.
I haven't seen it yet. I've been trying to find it online.
It's
definitely
canon.
is.
Definitely canon.
That's what's going on with Sam these days.
I'm going to have to watch it on Matt TV at some point. But to get back to the point with Stephen Lillian, that gives me a lot of hope, because I remember as a Star Trek fan seeing J.J. Abrams go on to the Tonight Show saying, well, I was more of a Star Wars guy, but I figured what the hell, I'll do Star Trek. And it's just like, well, why are you doing it then? This is just a paycheck for you? Like, what?
Yeah.
You have no love or respect or reverence for the property. And I'm not saying that's strictly necessary, but it's nice if you can ground, like I said, a sequel in the project that spawned it. Because where else if you're going to disregard or say you don't really have a lot of use for this, and we're just going to go off and do our own thing, then what's the point? Just make another show.
Thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay. And I get exactly what you're saying, and I agree. But I also, on the flip side, sometimes they try a bit too much to be just the same thing again.
100%.
Yeah,
and,
but I think
also,
you're on the right track here. It's good that it's someone who really loves the show and wants to do right by it.
Right, and I don't want to see a bunch of slavish fan service. That is not what I'm interested in, really. So that, if I came across sounding like that, no, not at all. But if there are touchstones in the series that harken back to the original, that's what I'm looking for.
But if the evil leapers aren't in the pilot, I'm switching off straight away. So.
What if Aaliyah was the new hologram? She's reformed, right? And she's got to.
That's almost too obvious.
Yeah. She's like, Sam did a favor for me, I'm going to do a favor for Sam.
Huh.
That would be too much of a deep cut. If Sammy Joe is too much of a deep cut, that would be too much of a deep cut. But wouldn't it be interesting?
It's so tough, though, to say what's a deep cut and what's not, because Quantum Leap did not exactly capture the cultural zeitgeist at any point during its run. I think it had its day of popularity, but
it had its own convention, and I think a lot of shows didn't have their own conventions.
All right, you ask anybody who Mr. Spock is, and pretty much they'll say Star Trek or know it's associated with Star Trek. You ask anybody who Sam Beckett is, they'll be like,
of all time.
Yeah. But they'll be like, who? But that's what I'm saying.
Sam Beckett, they'll be like, the playwright.
Yeah. Right.
But I think it has a respectable enough fan base.
I think it does too. I just don't know, that they can really play in tropes like the Evil Leaper, in tropes like Trilogy.
I think it'll come up, but I don't know if it'll be connected to the stuff in the original show. I think they'll play with that concept more, but I don't think that it's necessarily going to be tied into do you remember season 3 episode 12 or
right, and that's what I'm afraid of. That I don't think that they could do that though. The anthology nature of Quantum Leap really kind of makes it almost impossible to do that unless you get into a lot of the season 5 stuff. Yeah. So
what if the new Leaper leaps into Jimmy again? Again? We're back on Jimmy.
Shit.
Right. You see Jimmy in the waiting room looking around going, when am I going to leave this fucking place?
Oh my God. Who played Jimmy again? Is it Brad
Silverman.
Silverman. Yeah. I bet he'd be pumped to play him again.
Yeah.
Oh, he'd be like, bring me back as Jimmy. Come on.
Sure. I'd like to be
He's
Jimmy.
Ready.
Sure. And John D'Aquino. John D'Aquino is going to be the hologram. It's going to be.
Oh my God! I would love if John
Frank.
D'Aquino had a bigger role.
I would
he was
be happy
great.
with that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think we're pretty much now just going off the rails. Not that we had any rails on this one.
I want to ask though, do you guys have any dream fan casting? If you were going to choose a hologram or a leaper or anything, any ideas that appeal to you?
Honestly, no.
I hadn't thought about it, but if you're going to do wow, if you're going to do, now this is going to be silly. You know who I think would make a great hologram? Matt, you got to tell me your name in real life. Donna Noble.
Oh, Catherine Tate. Oh.
Yes.
Catherine Tate? Oh my god.
Don't you think she would be amazing?
Yeah.
So maybe because she was my favorite companion, so I don't know, but I think that she would fit in pretty good.
She'd be a lot of fun. She also, in real life, does not get any of the sci-fi stuff at all, so she'd be hilarious in interviews being like, I don't know, there's time travel, I don't...
They'll be like, is it the body or is it the mind?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know! No one knows!
So, as far as a leaper, now I can't get Anson Mount out of my head. So,
Yes.
It's a self-fulfilling
cool.
prophecy.
He's definitely got other obligations right now, but he'd be cool.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
a few episodes
for sure.
a
So
year.
I know.
He
I know
can
it's probably not going to happen. Probably not going to happen. What
But
about
again,
you
we're
guys?
talking fan casting, just thinking about it, not necessarily, this is going to happen.
How about you, Allison? Who do you have a fan cast?
All right. Leaper, Richard A. Waddy.
Oh.
He'd
I don't know
be
who that is.
amazing.
I
We keep bringing up
have
British
to Google
people.
him.
He's, because I think it would be such a different take, and I know he's a Quantum Leap super fan, so he'd like really get it. That'd be cool.
I got to Google Richard.
But he only plays one character. And
That's true. You don't really see him playing other people. No,
and
but he
I
does
don't see that
sometimes.
character doing the I'm going to snog the girl of the week thing. That I just
He'd be
can
like,
imagine.
hey, why don't we just have a hug?
I can't find anybody on this. Richard A. Waddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
W-A-D-I?
Good luck spelling his name.
AYOADE.
He was he was on the IT crowd. He was
came up.
in
He's
Dark
a British
Place.
He was so
very,
good in the
very funny.
IT crowd. He was the only one they brought over for the failed US
I've never
pilots.
I've never seen him in anything. But
Yeah, he's great. I don't know. I think that would be a different kind of take.
He's
think it
very
would
even
be a
when he
missed
shows up as
opportunity.
himself in things, he is the same character.
I feel like it would be kind of a missed opportunity if the Leaper was another like just white guy.
Yeah,
no, you're probably right there. Or at least maybe one of them being a person of color. I'm thinking like Donald Glover as the Observer. How's that?
Yeah, he's fun.
Right?
Oh, see, you guys always
Like,
come
it
up with
doesn't necessarily even have to be like a person of color. It could be a lady, or it could be a lady of color, or it could be, I just think like doing the standard, generic
Understood.
white guy,
Yeah. Yep. So, how about you, Matt? Any?
No, this is the thing. I'm so bad at this kind of thing. I can never. And then they'll announce the casting. Oh, yeah, of course, that's obvious. But no, when every time there's a show or a film that I love that comes back or does a sequel, I can never. I just can't go there. I'm so bad at that.
Okay, who don't you want to see? And number one for me, no Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh no! Why do we keep going to British people? It's a very British version of Quantum Leap.
Should we just assume no British Leaper or Leapy or hologram?
Get the Brits out.
Yeah,
Get the Brits out, of course. But
I'm fine with that.
Then there goes my Donna Noble. Oh well.
Yeah, she would be really good.
Get Fran Drescher. She could dress just as fabulous.
You're a huge Nanny fan.
You leapt into 1953.
All right, just on the Benedict Cumberbatch thing, who else British shows up in everything? David Tennant and Olivia Colman.
Oh no, don't say who British shows up in everything. James Corden.
Yes,
Keep
James
Corden out of our Quantum Leap. Keep him out.
And
James Corden could be gushy.
And no Matt Lucas. No Matt Lucas.
No Chris Pratt, please.
Well,
Please, he's ruined enough. He can't take everything from us.
Oh, you know who could
John
be?
Barrowman?
I don't know. I haven't.
John Barrowman? No, not now. No, not
Now
John
this
Barrowman.
this could be because I'm doing a Farscape rewatch. But Ben Browder, either as the Leaper or the hologram.
Oh, he was the guy who was the lead on Farscape?
Yeah, Crichton.
No,
yeah, Ben Browder.
No.
Love him. Love him.
I'm sorry, it's been too tainted by Stargate Farscape edition. I can't.
Yeah, I have to watch that. I'm going to watch that after I'm done with the Farscape rewatch.
It's interesting thinking of all the different ways they could go with this. That's what's exciting about this, because Quantum Leap is a world that you can really play with. You can insert different types of characters and scenarios and repiece it together into something interesting.
Now, I'm going to blow your mind. What if they have multiple Leapers out looking for Sam? So you have like different teams that they follow throughout the season.
Then I feel like it turns into Team Knight Rider kind of situation. where you have like the elite team that's got to go out and do the. We're on the mission.
Oh, what was that show a few years back about a team of time travelers? I marathoned it last year, and the name's escaping me. But
is it the one that had Will and Grace guy in it?
Yes.
Was it the one Deborah Pratt was involved with?
They basically leapt into people at the time of their deaths.
Oh. Was it Timeless, or is that something else?
I don't know.
It was on Amazon, Netflix, I believe. Netflix. And it had Eric McCormick in it.
Yeah.
See, this is why we have editing as well, but I'm not editing any of this out. But was that...
I just found Journeyman, but Journeyman's not the one I'm thinking of.
Sucked.
I thought Journeyman was okay, but that's... yeah.
I think part of the thing with Quantum Leap that is really appealing is kind of the fact that Sam is on his own.
Travelers,
yeah, I mean,
that's
like,
it.
He's got Alf with him, but like, I said Al, and then Alf came out.
I was going to say,
he's got Alf
I'll be very happy if that happens.
But sometimes also Al is there. And so he's... Don't edit it. So he's got Alf helping him out, right? But otherwise, he's a hologram that eats cats. So... I think if you have a team, there's less of that kind of lost on your own kind of nature, and I wouldn't really want to spread out too thin with an ensemble. Like I did like that it was kind of a 2-man show.
But they managed that well in Travelers. I think there was still quite a good fish out of water situation going on. But yeah, I don't know. I would like to see it changed up a fair bit.
Yeah, well,
just to avoid comparison.
Speculate. It's going to be an inevitable comparison.
I know.
You know, and we're going to be the worst when it comes to that. I mean, that's going to be basically this is the best news for the freaking podcast too. I'm sorry, we're poised now to explode because if this thing comes back and it's any kind of hit, who are they going to be looking for to talk about it? Us. So
we're gonna be the source of all the Quantum Leap news.
We're gonna be in on the ground floor, baby, ground floor.
They all laughed at us. You have a Quantum Leap podcast in the year 2022? Well, look who's laughing now. All the way to the bank.
Still them, I feel.
Can we agree, though, in the new show, can we not have Scott Bakula play his dad again?
That's a deal breaker. I won't watch it unless that's like it should be written into the
contract.
Still
with a bunch of makeup on. Even though he's his dad's age now, we have to put some prosthetics on him and the bad accent. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to do, I was re-listening to the other day our podcast on Diaper Monkey, and we were talking about how we were going to bring the show back just to do a follow-up to that episode. Now the dream becomes reality. Diaper Monkey Part 2. It's coming.
Yes.
And CGI has advanced to the point where you can see now the mirror shot where the monkey is giving a karate kick, like a roundhouse kick to knock out the scientist.
Oh, that's it. I'm happy.
All the possibilities.
I wasn't too sure about this idea of a reboot, but now it's good. It's fine.
Every week, a different animal. It's Quantum Leap, but with animals.
Right, they can do the baby leap now.
Yeah.
They can do the dog leap, or didn't they want to do a dog leap or something?
Yeah,
I think that was a thought.
Everything.
They could do the ghost leap. All the ones they didn't get to do the animated leap.
Yep, they can just throw everything against the wall now. Now, this is assuming that there's only going to be one Quantum Leap spinoff. If they go all Star Trek on our asses, there could be multiple Quantum Leap spinoffs, depending on how popular this one is.
Yeah, but like,
Peacock.
How?
I don't know.
Yeah, how do you do that? Like,
it's those geniuses
you would have to involve
in
leaping every time.
over,
in which
over
case,
at the studios.
why are you doing more than one?
I listen. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but like
everything's about franchising now.
They
have
another Jimmy episode that everyone loves and everyone gets attached to, and they just go, "Hey, right, let's just have a mini series about the LaMarta family." No time travel. No, they'll just do that. They'll do spin-offs out of every episode.
Sitcom, the LaMartas.
Is this before or after the evil leaper destroyed their lives?
Yeah, what are we talking about? This isn't going to have
either be a
continuity from the
sitcom?
original show. It's all going to be stuff like this for a niche audience of us. Like, we're going to be like, yeah, this is great. We're like, why are they
I meant
making
something like that. Like they have a classic episode in the new series that everyone loves, and they do a spin-off based on that.
Listen, if Russell
do
T.
like a
Davies,
bad backdoor pilot in the show,
Like an
if Russell
assignment
T.
Earth
Davies
kind
can
of thing.
create like a whole universe around the Doctor. I mean, he's going to. What, you're going to have maybe more Torchwood. They had Sarah Jane. They'll probably have a unit show. They're going to have.
yeah, but I feel like that those are based less around the concept and more like kind of peripheral people. Quantum Leap is very much about the leaping. What do you make the other plots about?
Yeah.
Again, you got to get those executives are very high paid and very creative in their power suits over in Paramount Worlds, NBC Universal, who's producing this. If they can milk this for any kind of money that they see, they will. So if this is successful, you will see some kind of spin-off, some kind of expanded universe property. It's just that is now the era that we live in. Is
maybe this will
franchise.
It'll just be like Walking Dead, and I guess the Stargate ones, which I never saw, where they'll just be like, all right, there's other projects elsewhere, and all the NCISs. They'll just be like a Quantum Leap New Orleans, and
oh my god, Quantum Leap New Orleans. That's where Scott Bakula's going to show up. He's like, my time has come.
That's right.
I've got the accent ready.
Well, yeah, so they could have like a spin-off at the Evil Leaper Project, right? They could have a spin-off
Then you go into the very cynical. If you did an Evil Leaper-focused project, that would be extremely dark. Like, that would be the opposite of the
all different
Leap
flavors.
flavor.
Right.
They'd be
you're saying,
putting
how do you
things
differentiate?
wrong that once went right.
Exactly, and then
maybe like
webisodes. They'll have
they
like
do webisodes based on these
like
things.
once a season crossover between the two shows where forces collide. I don't know. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'll be happy if we just see the pilot.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're going off in all these different directions. I'm excited to see where they go with this. Right now, like it's the possibilities are endless because there's not really much that's confirmed, and anything that they've said, they could change their minds about as they're developing it. So we'll see.
For sure. Well, whatever happens, however it all shakes out, we will be here tracking all of it. Not only that, but all of the reboot news going forward. We will be bringing you regular updates on the show as they arise. We will also be doing special episodes like this as warranted, depending on what gets announced when and who gets to be attached. And rest assured, we will be your one-stop shop for all things Quantum Leap Classic, and Quantum Leap Reboot, or sequel, or rebootquel, or whatever the hell they do with it. You'll be hearing about it right here on the Quantum Leap podcast. And thank you everyone for listening. I cannot wait. This is just so exciting. So exciting. Until we get the next update, I have been Christopher DeFilippis.
I've been Allison Pregler.
And I've been Matt Dale.
And we will see you next time, and the time after that, and the time after that, because the future, it's just beginning, folks.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Quantum Leap podcast, hosted by Allison, Matt, and Chris, with voice talent and contributions from Hayden McQueenie and Zoe Dean. Visit us at quantumleappodcast.com. To support the show, please go to patreon.com/quantumleappodcast. The executive producer of the Quantum Leap podcast is Albert Burge. Christopher DeFilippis and Hayden McQueenie are the co-executive producers. Morgan Felden and Charles Allen Gossard are the producers. The thoughts expressed on this podcast are those of the individual and do not necessarily represent those of the Quantum Leap podcast, its partners, or affiliates. The Quantum Leap universe and all it contains is the property of Belisarius Productions and Universal Television. The Quantum Leap podcast is not affiliated with Belisarius Productions or Universal Television, and no copyright infringement is intended. Please visit barrenspace.com for this and other amazing content. The Quantum Leap podcast is a Barren Space production.